ge Tinas Emmy seo acu Trusadh.
De hianna dú ma bha Tinas ost nach animich dunne.
Myalgic encephalomyelitis.
Chronic fatigue syndrome.
Low natural killer syndrome.
Post-viral fatigue syndrome.
De ma bha choskis nach kudu du cas is bialo cas. No nach burgut fuse glanischke all.
Ich mi vader ging schütz na rut na cool mafi ich hat doch man gero bar ioren is gero kuchig in a jiege a cool dafich.
Gaat dan ik het die wat as. Manast. Man vai, mas dan ik shoharam ieder.
I can't think of a disease which has quite so many names and which doctors and patients cannot agree on a suitable name for this illness.
Tapanui flu.
Chronic infectious mononucleosis.
Yuppie flu.
It's the relentlessness of it. I mean, it's like if you had a paper cut, right, you can deal with a paper cut, it's not very nice. But if you had paper cuts every hour for the rest of your life, boy, it would get you down.
Atypical poliomyelitis.
Royal free disease.
I often talk about the toxic awfulness of ME. That's the fatigue doesn't come anywhere near to describing it. It's toxic, it's like toxicity in your bones and in your muscles, in your head. And I don't mean that in a psychiatric way, it's toxicity, toxic awfulness.
Iceland disease.
Akureyri syndrome.
Post-infectious fatigue syndrome.
Om kajkel fein gan doktoren kan ik weg naar later down is MI. Waar nu dat kon je als een vaker fick het bleen maar hij fick het bleen daar.
Agus ste hianna dú mar rá dochta dagat a critchin nach rá lay down.
One woman in Edinburgh years ago told me when I tried to join her practice that she didn't believe in ME. That was kind of a slap in the face when I'd had it for, 12 years, so I just didn't join her practice.
Some people are getting an early diagnosis, an accurate diagnosis and good management, whereas other people, if their GP doesn't know about this illness, perhaps doesn't even believe in this illness, are not getting a diagnosis. This is a major scandal for the medical community.
Haar het toermsje gewil chorus kastel a vil nech as a riach unigte a fulluk latinis id wil ME. No Island skis lentenich. Hanjelis de hakka overig. Hanneke dinjes id Allison, ma had a fudig aan de leeuwes gehoppen.
When we go to this hospital, she banaltra ma hunna agus as an gematrang agus mar a háisich rud soring miskara háisich an triplach fa mi öla le stamma gost agus go mi pilliche ned a hon ned a go mi seo gas me gema cataloch agus chunnig in heulach mi nam catals wat fiaching nam gyskech saburi mi dyskech agus ned a gyskech mi mo jedach háisich mi gal agus saburi mi jana cal ma yin.
Va Sean eilenish na allanach beoghal do de gas a tien.
Van mi dierach a dien of nihin mar a savisteach van mi fein gan ro cosioch agus rui agus nihin mar seo becken na starre agus gan ro mi dichnachig nihin agus ronnechen va kuine kersgeleuracham ach is Jason van mi dichnachig nihin agus bescrutig becken na starre kujoch.
Shellige teolige has a dochter Sarah Mar, a chai cwtioch gymolwch cwngien legis natara.
Dyna ffwlwg le mi ha ti'n o'r chydach an y byddibwg na sŵlan, but ys trichge ha ti'n o'r y virus chodig yn I fi o'r car chydach awch gost na rodig yn car sŵrach mor sy'n ag sy'n na fi na hanil lŵnda hanil gynach gyfalaf agos had gesluitach man hule sian, there's the brin du hule te krojech horre.
Va niaf a balantor an y tyfsier rosh na follisman door hwg MI y griach go kriech.
Wel las van mij gobod as a office na Polish yn yr fioran. Agus han I pwtbag dy lwyd ar am. Ar wat anna, had a hesa gliata. Sy'n hor gan la, va chomas a goes. Na la, han ik nyrwyd ar am y ddysdiach va gyma na smys, na hiet la. Agus a bwrgo va gymryd 6 years agus efach a cwdigan in zo'n cwdiach. Sy'n nôr sy'n chief inspector chwydda zo'n doctor. Han ik yn doctor agus yw gyda injection. Agus a station hwyl at ambulance agus gan mi gachu as an ambulance gan y llebi. Fan mi as y llebi was an siach gan y station.
Well, there was nothing wrong with Neil that morning that he took ill. I went to work. He went cycling to work. The next thing I knew, there was a policeman at my work to say that Neil was taken ill and had to go home. And he took me home too. And I honestly couldn't believe when I saw him. He was so sick looking, pale, white, and just lying there. He couldn't open his eyes because the room was swimming. So it was a big shock.
Had the cawdd hwlysga interest as a dachais, chewlich, sola sian. Han yr ydych gyri o gael lepi agos catl, agos dwsg lepi gan nierst a chodicyn. Agos chan yr dwi'n ydygsyn chymar a sio a tachast.
Ha Nassim skriviche at den etian, edde vi fulluk chorus fichet bliana.
I was 19 years old. This was September 1982. And I'd gone to France as part of my honours degree. I was doing joint honours, French and English. And so I went off to France, really happy, really excited about my year abroad. A couple of weeks in, I started to feel incredibly unwell with this very severe gastric symptoms. And my eyes became very sensitive to light and I felt dizzy. I didn't feel real. I had a pain in my side. So this went on for a couple of weeks and I ended up seeing a doctor there because I thought I might have appendicitis and they couldn't find anything. And I just continued to get more and more unwell.
Agus va Kim a siarach yn frisch na niachgroich sylifachal, no de glua shella heolach as a vale voor. Agus san o noorsan hwg y ven yn ladje nach rolantje chom massa bechor.
It was my wife who turned around and said, well, look, you're not yet 40. You've thrown off a stressful job. You've been eating healthily. You've been, you should now be much fitter and healthier. You shouldn't be constantly needing an afternoon nap, constantly falling asleep during documentaries. Something's not right. Go and see the doctor.
Well, maar hurst dunne gova, jirach maar koshach troch rechgal. Agus besit jirach maar van misje ferrig gen urinen. Urinen gevuge rodan agus burin go opera yen of ek en al hai burin go koshach shies gunnen al hai. Ach urinen va rogar of fuse koshach gas and tai.
Have je skis het chinost even egen eden neich just toch she va is jay bualiau. Es am so gnishin post exertional malaise had to get a agus am just skis u absochs húla cael ha na muscles is na yn corfa dy iemal agus húla cael y geifach grwyd. Diolch man gyrw ni fi la trangas y bwnia ach na harw gianw, cael mwyswn.
Sé Tiredness has a chumman ME a ha cochtiochu as leichlwch fullig. Sé an dochter Charles Shepherd yn córliche medicachachke.
Most people with this illness are previously fit young adults, 20s, 30s, 40s, and I speak from personal experience here. I developed this illness in my 20s following a viral infection. And what they tend to report is that they've been perfectly fit, they get an infection, and they don't recover from that. Although the infection itself goes away, they are left with these very characteristic ME symptoms, which are basically muscle symptoms. They have exercise-induced muscle fatigue, they may have muscle pain, they have brain symptoms, particularly problems with balance, memory, concentration, temperature control. And on top of that, they have sort of infective flu-like symptoms as though they've got an ongoing infection going on, and they just don't feel well. They feel very under the weather.
Hadioch da hwyl yn ei teachum, Har oes ei defa tachart, fadioch, uafasochs. Y laide yn couch, y hwla las, y hwla trapigach ding ysdiach, a bwrin yw cymryd y llawn suas, because far o rhawn, ymch dwydioch. Gyda llawn y clwys ac hyn yw'n sŵr yn tig dinga go ffink a da.
Chai yn doctor yn harwad man yma cwysyn harwad dyn ymach defa car ach am y tics van de ocean gre gyrwad y son o hwla genius ele hwla mach hwla gan lawn y tŵ mas bwrw gai fe diagnosis gyda ME yn yw sy'n y fawn.
Ac yn tosioch, fan chyrwyn doctor ys mwynhau yn rho cael tromchwsioch cer orym. Chybwring i cael ein efo cer lawn. So chyrwys yn cyntioch je bychorach.
Hadioch palach gyn yw afasoch. Gyd nach rwys am o'r ma un, ma mi gra, hasionis. Cytra mich nhw, am I smyniochs. Am I jyst ma'n rwyd yn ma'n meningitis yw'ch dy siachadydd. Rwyd yn acute, chan I rwyd yn y hesach fada. Ach yn y doctor yn ac ymhyn, har o iad yn gywyr I cwth ME, gyrwad gyrag yn ME fa ciar aram, cos had y gyrag y ffim yw fi si am I asyn. Leis yn tryplach, mas canad gyfel ME orst.
Van my faher y gynsio gyn dy hwyl eisiau gyn ro ME acym. Ys gas gyn ro nesoniach yn acym mar y fechge mar y fa ME echge hyn. Ach yr o'n doctor cyntioch.
I mean, I started feeling ill September 82 and I wasn't diagnosed till January 84. So, I mean, that's a long time to be ill and not know what's wrong. And that's when we then heard this very strange word, ME, myalgic encephalomyelitis, which we'd never heard of. And that was really the beginning of my life being changed forever.
And things just seemed to drag out forever. And eventually, CFS ME came up in conversation. You start off with this sense of, well, okay, what is it? You go away and you look it up, and there's this notion, well, there isn't a cure, but some people just seem to have it for a few months and then they get over it and everything's fine. But nobody actually really knows what it is.